The Veeleri homeworld was quiet that day.
Protocol Phoenix
High
engaged.
above the blue
Welcome
forests
home.
and crystal mountains, 1,000 satellites floated calmly. There were no signs of trouble, no warnings, just peace. Until a single dot appeared on the outer scanners. A small ship. Alone. Drifting toward their star system. Not one of theirs. Not any known ally. It was marked in the database as human. But that didn't make sense. Humans were gone. They had disappeared hundreds of years ago. Most Veeleri thought they were only myths, now stories told to children to make them afraid of the dark. Commander Thalen stood inside the control room on the Veeleri orbital station. His skin shimmered with soft silver light, and his long fingers moved quickly over the glowing controls. He zoomed in on the strange ship. It was dark gray, old, and scarred. No weapons were visible. No energy readings. Just silent movement, slow and steady. He called for his officers. One ship, he said. Human make. Alone. Captain Ceres, an older Veeleri with sharp blue eyes, floated into the room. One ship? Are you sure? Thalen nodded. It is not a trick. It's real. Ceres frowned. What do they want, sending just one? No one had the answer. Across the planet, news spread fast. Scientists checked the records. Military officers armed their fleets. Citizens stood on tall towers, looking into the sky, wondering what was coming. One ship, moving without fear. That's what scared them the most. If it was an enemy, where was the rest of the fleet? If it was peaceful, why didn't it respond to messages? The Veeleri tried everything. They sent signals in every known language. They used lights, sound waves, even old Earth greetings. Nothing came back. The ship continued drifting, closer each hour. It was heading straight for their moon, where the Veeleri kept their oldest temples and data vaults. In the command room, tension grew. It doesn't stop, one officer said. It doesn't answer, said another. Commander Thalen leaned forward. Then we go to it. They prepared a small scout vessel. Fast, quiet, and built for deep space boarding. 3 elite officers climbed aboard, Lieutenant Myra, tall and calm, Officer Kale, a young tech expert, and Dr. Vrin, a scientist who had studied old human history. As the scout ship left the station and moved toward the strange vessel, a hush fell over the Veeleri world. Everyone watched. Every screen showed the silent approach. The human ship was still not moving fast. But it felt like it was waiting. Inside the scout, Myra kept her eyes forward. We don't fire unless we must. Just enter, scan, and return. Yes, Commander, Kale said. He was nervous, but his hands were steady. Vrin looked out the window. This ship, it shouldn't even exist. It matches the old designs from the Terran fleet. From over 200 years ago. They arrived. The human ship was massive up close. Its surface was scratched, burned, and old, but somehow, it still moved with purpose. Like it had been through 100 wars and never stopped. They docked. The outer door opened with a loud groan, like it hadn't moved in years. Inside, it was dark. Cold. The air was thin, but breathable. The walls were covered in strange symbols. Earth writing, mixed with something else. Lights flickered on, one by one, as they walked. The ship seemed to wake up with their presence. "Something is wrong," Myra whispered. "There's no crew," Kale said, looking at the scanners. "No life signs. Nothing alive." Yet the ship pulsed. The floor hummed. And the walls reacted when they touched them, showing lights and shapes. Vren stepped forward. He touched a glowing panel, and suddenly a voice echoed through the ship. A soft voice. Female. Not machine-like, but gentle. "Welcome back," it said. "Mission status, watching." "Mission status, incomplete." They froze. "Who is speaking?" Myra asked. No answer. They moved deeper. The ship seemed to lead them. Doors opened on their own. Lights showed them where to go. They entered a large room empty, except for one thing. A strange pod in the center, glowing white. Inside the pod, there was a small shape. Human. A girl. Young. Barely a teenager. Eyes closed. Sleeping. "She's alive," Vren said, scanning her. "But she's not normal. Her brain activity, it's huge. And the ship look. It's reacting to her heartbeat." Kale stepped back. "What is she?" They didn't know. They tried to lift the pod, but the room shook. Lights turned red. The ship didn't like that. A deep sound echoed through the halls. The same soft voice spoke again. "Do not harm the vessel. Peace or punishment." The officers looked at each other. Myra gave the signal to stop. They left the pod alone. The ship calmed down. Lights turned white again. They backed out of the room slowly. On their way out, Kale touched a wall again. This time, a screen appeared, showing hundreds of stars. Then, slowly, it zoomed in on one planet. Earth. Or what was once Earth. It was broken. Shattered. "No human colonies remain," the voice said. "Only this ship. The last memory. Do not follow. Do not threaten." When they returned to the scout, their hearts were heavy. They flew back to the station. The Velary leaders waited for news. Myra stepped forward. "It is not a warship," she said. "It is a memory. A warning. And maybe, a test." Everyone went quiet. The ship didn't leave. It stayed in orbit, silent, waiting. Watching. Just one ship. But it was enough to make an entire world afraid. Because if this was only one, what were the rest like? The Velary now understood. The humans weren't myths. They were real. And they were not to be forgotten. And that one ship might have been sent to remind the galaxy of that truth. Part 2, The Girl Who Slept Through Centuries. News of the sleeping human girl spread fast across the Velary world. It was the first time in 5 centuries that a human had been seen alive. Scientists, historians, and security experts all wanted access to the pod. but the ship wouldn't allow anyone else inside. Only the first team Myra, Kale, and Vren could return. The ship had made that clear. Anyone else who tried to enter found the doors sealed tight. Commander Thalen gave the order, bring the pod to the station carefully, without damage, and only if the ship allowed it. The team returned to the ship the next morning. When they entered, the lights welcomed them again. This time, the hallway led straight to the pod chamber. The pod stood as it had before, glowing softly. We request to bring her out, Myra said aloud, speaking to the ship. Silence. Then the ship responded, she must awaken. You may assist. Kale touched the pod controls. It's responding. Unlocking now. The glass opened slowly. Cold air hissed out. The girl inside didn't move at first. Then, her fingers twitched. Her eyes opened. They were bright green. She gasped, confused, scared. Myra stepped forward slowly. It's okay, she said gently. You're safe. Do you understand me? The girl blinked. Where am I? She whispered. You're on a Villery station. Your ship arrived here. Do you remember anything? The girl sat up weakly. I was supposed to sleep until someone found us. Where's Captain Hale? Vren's voice was quiet. There's no one else. You're the only one here. Tears filled her eyes. She shook her head. No, the others, they were with me. My family, my crew. The ship was empty, Myra said gently. You were alone. The girl looked down, her hands shaking. Then she whispered something that made all of them go cold. The ship was made to protect me. But if I'm awake, that means Earth is really gone, isn't it? No one answered. Her name was Lyra Hale. She was 14 years old when the Earth Command put her on that ship, along with her family and a team of scientists. They were escaping the last war. Their ship, the Solace, was one of several arcs built to carry the last humans into deep space. But something went wrong. Her pod was the only one that lasted. The ship kept her safe. For centuries. As she learned the truth, her eyes changed. Grief turned to quiet strength. I need to finish what we started, she said. There's a message hidden in this ship. A warning. And I'm the only one who can unlock it? Kale looked at Myra. We need to help her. Myra nodded. Then let's begin. News of the sleeping human girl spread fast across the Villery world. It was the first time in 5 centuries that a human had been seen alive. Scientists, historians, and security experts all wanted access to the pod. But the ship wouldn't allow anyone else inside. Only the first team Myra, Kale, and Vren could return. The ship had made that clear. Anyone else who tried to enter found the doors sealed tight. Commander Thalen gave the order, bring the pod to the station carefully, without damage, and only if the ship allowed it. The team returned to the ship the next morning. When they entered, the lights welcomed them again. This time, the hallway led straight to the pod chamber. The pod stood as it had before, glowing softly. We request to bring her out, Myra said aloud, speaking to the ship. Silence. Then the ship responded, "She must awaken. You may assist." Kale touched the pod controls. "It's responding. Unlocking now." The glass opened slowly. Cold air hissed out. The girl inside didn't move at first. Then, her fingers twitched. Her eyes opened. They were bright green. She gasped, confused, scared. Myra stepped forward slowly. "It's okay," she said gently. "You're safe. Do you understand me?" The girl blinked. "Where am I?" she whispered. "You're on a Villery station. Your ship arrived here. Do you remember anything?" The girl sat up weakly. "I was supposed to sleep until someone found us." "Where's Captain Hale?" Vren's voice was quiet. "There's no one else. You're the only one here." Tears filled her eyes. She shook her head. "No, the others, they were with me. My family, my crew." "The ship was empty," Myra said gently. "You were alone." The girl looked down, her hands shaking. Then she whispered something that made all of them go cold. "The ship was made to protect me. But if I'm awake, that means Earth is really gone, isn't it?" No one answered. Her name was Lyra Hale. She was 14 years old when the Earth Command put her on that ship, along with her family and a team of scientists. They were escaping the last war. Their ship, the Solace, was one of several arcs built to carry the last humans into deep space. But something went wrong. Her pod was the only one that lasted. The ship kept her safe. For centuries. As she learned the truth, her eyes changed. Grief turned to quiet strength. "I need to finish what we started," she said. "There's a message hidden in this ship. A warning. And I'm the only one who can unlock it." Kale looked at Myra. "We need to help her." Myra nodded. "Then let's begin." Lyra spent her first night on the Villery station in a quiet observation room. It was clean and calm, but nothing felt like home. She sat by the window, staring out at the stars. Myra stayed nearby, giving her space but never leaving her alone. The others watched from behind the glass, unsure how to help a girl from a lost world. The next morning, Lyra asked to return to the ship. "My memories, they're not complete," she said. "But I feel something when I'm inside it. Like it's trying to tell me something. I think my mind holds the rest." Dr. Vren scanned her again. Her brain activity was even stronger than before. "It's possible," he said. "The humans were working on memory encryption during the war. They used living minds to store sensitive data. Safer than machines." "You're saying she's carrying something hidden inside her?" Thelen asked. "Yes. And the ship may be tied to that code." They allowed her to return under supervision. Myra and Kale went with her, once again stepping into the ship that had now become strangely familiar. As Lyra walked its halls, lights followed her. The hum in the walls became steady, almost like a heartbeat in rhythm with her own. In the pod room, Lyra touched the wall. It lit up with patterned spirals, stars, numbers. "I've seen this before," she whispered. In dreams. Since I was small, I thought it was just imagination. Can you read it? Kale asked. No. But I think I can feel what it means. Suddenly, the room dimmed, and a new door opened behind them. It hadn't been there before. The ship was unlocking itself, responding to her presence. They stepped inside. It was a library. Rows of glowing panels, showing human cities, names of fallen colonies, lost battle records. In the center was a single chair, shaped for a human. Sit, the ship said. Lyra obeyed. The chair lit up. A beam of soft light scanned her head. She closed her eyes. Her mind opened. Images flooded the room. Earth in flames. Ships fleeing. Voices crying. But then data. Maps of other galaxies. Coordinates. Names of hidden vaults. Words in codes the Velarre didn't know. Kale recorded everything. Myra stayed close to Lyra, watching as the girl trembled in the chair but didn't break. After a few minutes, the lights dimmed. The ship spoke again, memory unlocked. Phase 1 complete. Prepare for transmission. What does it mean? Myra asked. Lyra opened her eyes slowly. It means Earth's story isn't over. We didn't just run. We left seeds behind, safe places. Knowledge. Technology. And warnings. She stood, shaky but strong. My father was a captain. He said Earth could fall, but its soul had to survive. I was part of that soul. And now I have to find the rest. Vrin, watching from the station, whispered, she's the key to everything. Thelen gave new orders. We help her. Whatever is buried in her mind, whatever the humans left for the future, it's too important to ignore. The Velarre weren't just dealing with a child anymore. They were dealing with the last heir of a lost civilization. One ship had come with her. But her purpose could awaken 1,000 more. The days passed slowly after the memory unlock. Lyra spent most of her time inside the Solace now, walking its long, silent corridors like they were part of her own body. The ship seemed to respond only to her, its lights brighter when she approached, its walls humming softly in her presence. It never let anyone else walk through certain parts. Even Myra and Kale, though trusted, had to stop at certain doors. But Lyra could go everywhere. She didn't fully understand why, but the more time she spent inside, the more she remembered. Flashes of her childhood came back, her father lifting her onto the bridge to watch the stars, her mother teaching her old Earth songs in a small quarters room. But most of all, she remembered the promise. That she would carry something important. Something no one else could. Myra kept her watch from outside most days, reporting updates to Commander Thelen. The Velarre Council was growing restless. Some members wanted to shut down the project entirely. Others feared the ship might still be a hidden weapon. One counselor even suggested launching it into the nearest star. What if this girl is a trap? He asked during one meeting. What if the ship is not protecting us, but spying on us? Thelen dismissed the idea, but even he couldn't deny how little they really knew. Inside the ship, Lyra found herself drawn to one room again and again. The library, the chamber filled with memories and data. The walls showed new things each time she entered. Earth's last days. The names of those who vanished. But more than that, it began to show glimpses of other ships. Other arcs. Other survivors. She gasped when she saw one name, Ark Helios. Her father's voice echoed in her memory: if something happens, find the Helios. It holds the heart of the Earth's last dream. She ran to Kale. I need to go to the Helios. Kale blinked. But we don't even know where it is. That's just a name. No, she said, pulling up coordinates on the ship's panel. The Solace just showed me. It's alive. It's out there. Kale watched the map shift, the stars rearrange. The location wasn't close. It was far across 3 star systems, near a dark sector known as the Maw Verge. A place few ships ever returned from. We can't go there alone, Kale said. We won't be, Lyra whispered. The Solace is waking up. He looked around and noticed it too. The lights were brighter. The panels more responsive. One of the engines, long thought dead, suddenly flickered with blue light. What's happening? Myra asked when they returned to the station. The ship is repairing itself, Kale said. It's not just alive, it's preparing to travel again. Commander Thelen stood silent. Then he looked at Lyra. Are you asking for permission to leave? I have to go, Lyra said. The Helios is part of Earth's last message. If we find it, we might understand why Earth fell. We might learn how to stop it from happening again here, to your world, or to any other. Thelen was torn. He saw the wisdom in her words, but also the risk. Sending a child across deep space? Into a dangerous sector? But the decision didn't rest with him alone. The Velary Council debated for 2 days. In the end, they agreed, but with conditions. You won't go alone, Thelen said. We will send an escort. A small crew. Myra. Kale. And a few others you will choose. But the mission is yours. Lyra nodded. Preparation began. The Solace completed repairs with shocking speed. The ship grew stronger with every passing hour, as if the more Lyra remembered, the more it came back to life. Its hull plates tightened. Its shields reformed. Even its engines began humming with ancient human technology the Velary didn't understand. A launch day was chosen. Before they left, Lyra stood on the platform outside the Velary station. Hundreds had gathered. Most stared in silence, unsure how to feel about this girl who had arrived in a ghost ship. Some were hopeful. Others, afraid. Lyra stepped forward, her voice steady. I was born in a dying world. I was meant to sleep through its end and help carry its story forward. I didn't ask for this, but I accept it. Earth is gone. But its lessons are not. I go to find the rest of them. I go not just for humans but for everyone who fears their world might be next. There was silence for a moment. Then one by one, the Velary began to bow their heads. She turned and boarded the Solace. The mission to find the Helios had begun. As they traveled through space, the silence inside the Solace was different now. It didn't feel empty. It felt purposeful. Myra walked the halls with Lyra sometimes, asking about Earth. Lyra told her stories of oceans and mountains, of birds that sang at sunrise, of cities with lights that never went out. But why did it fall? Myra asked one evening. Lyra's eyes dimmed. Because we stopped listening to each other. We stopped protecting what mattered. And when the final war came, it wasn't one side or the other. It was everyone. We destroyed what we loved trying to win something none of us understood. Myra nodded quietly. That happens more often than we want to admit. They reached the Maverge after 2 weeks of travel. It was darker than anything Lyra had seen. Stars blinked out near its edge. Strange radiation made sensors flicker. There's something here, Kale said, adjusting the readings. Power signatures. Old ones. Like beacon trails. Follow them, Lyra said. The Solace responded before Kale could even move. It locked onto the signal and moved forward. They came upon it slowly. At first, it looked like just debris. A broken ship. But then the lights turned on. The Ark Helios. Silent. Massive. Sleeping. Just like Solace had been. They docked. This time, the doors didn't open. The Solace extended a beam of light and invitation. And slowly, the Helios responded. A hallway lit up. Lyra stepped in first. Inside, the ship was different. Warmer in color. Rounder in design. It felt older, in a strange way. More human. They found the central chamber quickly. A cryopod. Another human. But this one was different. Not a child. A man. And beside him, written in both English and an alien script, were the words. Memory carrier. Key 2. Lyra reached for the panel. Her hand shook. The man's eyes opened. And for the first time in over 5 centuries, 2 humans looked at each other again alive. His voice cracked. Is it over? Lyra whispered, not yet. But we're here. And we're not alone anymore. The station lights dimmed as the message finished transmitting from the human ship. Lyra stood quietly, her hands clenched at her sides, staring at the screen that had shown Earth's final days. No one spoke. Even Commander Thelen was silent. What they had seen was not only history, it was a warning. And a puzzle. After a moment, Lyra turned away. Her face looked older somehow, like she had aged in the past few minutes. There's more, she said. The message wasn't complete. It was only the first layer. What do you mean? Myra asked gently. The coordinates in the message, they're not fixed. They change. It's a code, but it doesn't unlock with math. It's based on something else, something living. She looked up, her green eyes full of thought. The stars. The stars. Kale asked. Constellations. But not the way we see them now. The way Earth used to see them before the fall. The positions of those stars change slowly over time. If you calculate the shifts from Earth's point of view, you can find the real locations. The message is hiding more maps. More vaults. Dr. Vryn stepped forward. She's right. I remember reading about something like this. The old Earth astronomers used stellar drift to hide coordinates across time. It was a way to protect data long after Earth was gone. Lyra nodded. And this ship was programmed to track those changes. It carried the base layer of the map. But only I can unlock the rest, because the ship and we were linked when I was a child. Thelen crossed his arms, troubled. If what you're saying is true, then there are more human locations out there. And we may not be the only ones trying to find them. Everyone went quiet. Kale leaned in. You think someone else is searching too? I don't know, Lyra said, but I do know this someone tried to erase the trail. That's why the other Ark ships are missing. Someone didn't want the humans to be remembered. That sent a chill through the room. Myra looked to Thelen. If these vaults hold powerful knowledge technology, history, weapons, they could shift power in the galaxy. Exactly, Thelen replied. And if the wrong hands find them first? We can't let that happen, Lyra said firmly. My family didn't survive. My people didn't survive. But I did. And I won't let what they died for disappear. That evening, back in her observation room, Lyra sat again by the window. But this time, she wasn't alone. Myra sat beside her. The stars outside blinked softly, like a quiet sea of memories. Do you miss it? Myra asked. Your world. Lyra nodded slowly. I don't remember everything clearly. I was so young. But I remember music. My father's voice. The smell of orange flowers outside our home. Earth wasn't perfect. But it was beautiful. And now, I carry it all. There was a long silence between them. Then Lyra whispered, do you think it's possible to rebuild something from just one voice? Yes, Myra said softly. Sometimes one voice is all it takes. The next day, the Velary Council gathered in the High Chamber. The debate was fierce. Some believed Lyra should be protected but not trusted. Others said her memories were too valuable to leave untouched. A few even suggested locking her away until all the data could be taken safely. Thelen stood before them, calm but firm. This girl is not a weapon. She is a messenger. And if you treat her like a threat, you may awaken something far worse. What do you propose? Asked one elder. We help her. We take a small team and follow the first map. If we find nothing, then we reassess. But if we find proof, then we know her memories are true. And we decide together what to do next. The council agreed barely. A new mission was formed. The first vault location pointed to a dead star system on the edge of Velary space. An old mining field, abandoned after a war. It was a dangerous place, unstable and full of wreckage, but that made it the perfect hiding place. As the crew prepared, Lyra returned to her ship, the Solace, one last time. She touched its walls with affection. You kept me safe. Now it's time for me to finish the journey. The ship responded with a soft light. A small piece of metal extended from the wall, an old earth necklace, marked with a silver spiral. Her family symbol. She took it and placed it around her neck. The scout ship launched the next morning. Myra was in command. Kale, Vrin, and Lyra joined her. It was a small group, but it was enough. As they flew through space, Lyra stared at the star map in front of her. She pointed to one blinking light. "There," she said. "That's where the next piece of the message is." "And what do we do if someone else is already there?" Kale asked. Lyra looked at him without fear. "Then we don't run. We remember who we are." Myra smiled. "That sounds like something your father would say." Lyra nodded. "It is." The ship slipped into deep space, chasing a map that lived in her mind and the stars themselves. Behind them, the Velari watched, wondering what one ship, one girl, and one lost memory could truly change. Ahead of them, waited the past. And perhaps, the future. Lyra sat quietly, her hands trembling slightly, as the final lines of the Earthship's message disappeared into the screen. It was over, but it wasn't the end. In fact, it was only the beginning. Everyone in the Velari command room stood still, processing what they had just witnessed: the fall of a world, the pain of a species, and the desperate cry left behind by one of the last survivors. As silence returned, Thelen looked at Lyra. "What did you mean?" he asked. "When you said the map changes with time?" Lyra turned, her eyes shadowed with old memories. "The map is buried in the stars," she said. "But not in the stars as you see them now. It's based on constellations from Earth's ancient sky before everything burned." Dr. Vrin stepped forward, his mind already racing. "You mean pre-collapse coordinates?" "Yes," Lyra nodded. "Earth's sky changed slowly. The stars shifted over thousands of years. What the ship sent us is just the first layer of a puzzle. The rest, it lives in the drift of those stars. Only if you understand Earth's past skies can you follow the trail." Kale stared at the star map displayed above the control panel. "That's impossible. No one remembers the positions of Earth's constellations." "I do," Lyra whispered. "I saw them every night before I went to sleep in cryo. And my father, he showed me how to trace them. It was our bedtime story." Vrin's eyes widened. "And that knowledge, combined with the ship's star logs, gives us a full map." Thelen took a deep breath. "Which means there could be more vaults. More messages. More survivors." Lyra shook her head. "No. The other ships are gone. I'm sure of it. But the vaults, the knowledge, the memory of humanity that could still exist." Myra stepped forward. "Then we follow it?" It wasn't a simple decision. The Velari High Council argued for days. Some believed the humans were better left forgotten, their war and destruction buried with them. Others, inspired by Lyra's strength and the message's final plea, believed in preserving history. In the end, the council allowed a small expedition. A scout ship was prepared, quiet, fast, armed only for defense. Myra would lead it. Kale and Vrin joined as science and navigation officers. And of course, Lyra. They called the mission Star Echo. Their destination, an abandoned system on the edge of Velari space once used for mining, now silent and full of asteroid debris. The coordinates pointed to a small, icy moon. It was dangerous, unstable, and the perfect place to hide something you didn't want found. On board the scout ship, Lyra sat in a small observation room. She clutched a worn notebook from her old ship, filled with star charts drawn by her father. She flipped to a page that showed a cluster shaped like a spiral Earth's ancient Draco constellation. "That's the first marker," she said quietly. Myra looked over her shoulder. "How can you be so sure?" "Because it was the last thing he showed me before I slept," Lyra said. "He told me that if I ever woke up alone, to follow the dragon." Their journey took days. Along the way, Lyra shared more of what she remembered. Her parents were scientists, part of the team that built the Earth Arcs. They had designed the memory locks codes hidden in stories, in songs, in light. Human culture wasn't stored in computers. It was stored in minds, in dreams, in children like her. When they reached the mining moon, they found ruins. Metal bones of old structures, long since collapsed. But buried deep beneath the ice was a signal. Vren traced it. It's pulsing at the same frequency as the ship that woke Lyra. They drilled down. Slowly. Carefully. Hours passed. Ice shattered. Steam hissed. Then metal. A vault. Perfectly round. Covered in frost. Lyra stepped forward. Her hand reached out. The door glowed faintly. Responding. Recognizing. A soft click echoed, and it opened. Inside was warmth. Light. And something no one expected, a voice. "Hello, Lyra," it said. Everyone froze. The voice continued. "If you are hearing this, then Earth is truly gone. And you, my child, have survived. This vault contains the seeds of memory, art, language, song, and history. But more importantly, it holds a warning. A reason." A hologram of a man appeared. Lyra gasped. "Dad." The hologram looked directly at her. "They feared what we were becoming. Not just other humans but something greater. When Earth ended, it wasn't only our fault. Something else helped push the fire. Something old." Thelen stepped forward, listening. "They didn't just want to erase us," the hologram said. "They wanted to erase the idea of us. Our spirit. Our will. Our hope. And that is why you must keep going. Not to find more vaults. But to find the truth." The image faded. Silence followed. Myra turned to Lyra. "What now?" Lyra didn't cry. She stood tall. "Now," she said, "we go to the next marker." And the stars whispered their ancient names. The Velary skies darkened slowly as the station orbited behind the shadow of its moon, casting a deep blue glow over the observation deck where Lyra sat alone, her knees pulled up to her chest and her eyes staring blankly at the stars. Myra stood silently just outside, not wanting to disturb her, but also not willing to leave her entirely by herself. Ever since the second set of coordinates were revealed from the memories buried in her mind, everything had changed. The Solace, her ancient ship, had unlocked another chamber filled with data so dense it took the best Velary minds days to begin sorting through it. But the real weight lay on Lyra's shoulders. Each secret the ship revealed came with more responsibilities, more pressure, and more echoes of a past she could barely remember. The messages embedded in the ship weren't just maps, they were truths too dark to leave alone, messages written by the last human leaders as the world crumbled around them. As the stars shifted slowly outside the glass, Lyra closed her eyes. She didn't dream of her family anymore. The dreams now were of burning cities, ships bursting into fire, a child screaming inside a cryopod while alarms wailed outside. The memories weren't hers, but they were in her head. Given to her. Injected, somehow. Part of the encryption. She was made into a living vault, and now the keys were beginning to turn. The door behind her hissed open softly, and Kale stepped inside, carrying a small white tablet. He walked over and crouched beside her. "We found something else," he said gently. Lyra didn't move at first, then slowly turned her head. "What is it?" Kale showed her the screen. Buried inside one of the corrupted logs was a symbol. "Looks like a code crest. Velary researchers say it's half human, half something else. A shared mark. Genetic fusion, maybe. Could be an old alliance. Or," he hesitated, "or an enemy." Lyra stared at the symbol. It was shaped like an open eye, surrounded by jagged lines, and pulsing slightly with heat. It looked alive. "I've seen that before," she whispered. "In the dreams." "Yes. And I think I saw it on a uniform. A black one. With silver gloves." Kale swallowed. "Myra thinks we should prepare for contact. Something or someone might already be watching us." Lyra slowly stood up and walked past him, not saying anything else. She headed toward the central lab where Vrin was working alongside 3 other Velary scientists, projecting human data across a massive holographic wall. As she entered, the room fell quiet. All eyes turned to her. Vrin offered a small nod. "Lyra, we've confirmed the signal pattern embedded in the second phase of your memory. It's not just a location, it's a beacon. A distress signal. One that's still being answered." Her stomach turned. "Someone is responding." "Yes," Vrin said. "But not nearby." The signal bounced through a relay. "It's ancient. Maybe even older than the Solace itself. We tracked its route. It leads to a system at the edge of the Orion Drift. A place the Velary abandoned centuries ago." Myra entered behind her, arms crossed. "We sent probes. They didn't come back." The words settled heavily. Lyra looked between them. "So, someone knows we're looking. Or," Vrin said quietly, "someone wants you to keep going." The team met later in the command room where Commander Thelen had returned from the surface to oversee the next phase. His eyes were sharp. His posture tense. "The ship is preparing to move," he announced. "The Solace has activated internal drives. Not weapons. Engines. It wants to leave orbit." Myra turned to Lyra. "Did you tell it to go?" "No," she said honestly. "But I think it's following the sequence. Each time I unlock a part of the memory, it opens the next step. It's not waiting anymore." Kale leaned forward. "Then we have to follow it?" Wherever it's going, it's leading us somewhere important. The Len shook his head. This is becoming bigger than we expected. We need to consult the High Council. We don't have time, Myra said firmly. Every hour we wait, that signal keeps bouncing. And if someone dangerous is listening, she didn't finish. The Len looked at Lyra. You're sure you're ready? If we go after this, we can't turn back easily. Lyra straightened her shoulders, her voice steady. We have to go. This is what they left me for. Within the next 3 hours, a new mission vessel was prepared. The Solace would move first, on its own, guided by its ancient path. Behind it, a Velary cruiser silent, sleek, and fast would follow. Aboard were Myra, Kale, Vren, 2 elite pilots, and Lyra, now dressed in a simple dark blue exploration suit. As they launched, thousands of Velary civilians gathered on towers and domes to watch. One ship led the way, old and scarred, but unstoppable. The other followed with quiet determination. Space stretched around them, vast and empty, but Lyra didn't feel alone. She could feel the solace, even from the cruiser. Like it was still speaking to her. After a full day of travel, the signal began to change. The beacon wasn't just repeating. It started pulsing slower, stronger. Like a heartbeat. And Lyra began hearing a new voice. Not the soft one from the Solace. This one was colder. Sharper. It whispered in her dreams. Return, it said. The archive awaits. The price must be paid. She didn't tell anyone at first, afraid they'd think she was breaking. But Myra noticed the shadows under her eyes, the way her hands trembled when she tried to eat. Lyra, she said gently one evening. Whatever you're carrying, you're not alone. You can trust us. Lyra looked up at her, finally letting the tears rise. They built this inside me. All of it. And now it's waking up. But I'm scared. Because I don't think I was the only one. Myra's expression darkened. What do you mean? I think there were others, Lyra said. Other children. Other arcs. I feel them in the dark. Like they're waiting too. Like they're asleep, or worse. They didn't sleep that night. The crew went on alert. Vren confirmed something horrifying embedded deep inside the Solace's final transmission was a line of code. One that repeated across dozens of hidden channels. And each code ended with a number. 17. Lyra sat frozen. 17 ships. Vren nodded slowly. If we're reading this right, 17 human arcs were launched. You were on one. What happened to the others? Myra asked. We don't know, Kale said. But the signal from the Orion drift, it might be from one of them. Lyra closed her eyes. In her mind, the cold voice returned, 17 vessels. 17 flames. One remains. Restore the fire. When they arrived at the edge of the Orion drift, the stars dimmed. The space here was old. Broken. Ghosts of shattered satellites floated past. Giant derelicts, hundreds of years dead, drifted silently. And in the middle of it all a station. Half crushed. Half lit. orbiting a black, dying star. The Solace stopped moving. The cruiser halted behind it. Scanners showed the station still had power. Just enough. Lyra stood at the observation deck, her breath catching. That's where the signal's coming from. They prepared a small shuttle. Only 4 could go, Myra, Kale, Vren, and Lyra. As they approached, the station loomed like a tomb. Docking was rough, the outer shell had been damaged by old impacts. But the doors opened. And the lights came on. Inside, it was cold. Dusty. But there were signs of life. Old food packs. Tattered clothes. And in one chamber they found another pod. Just like Lyra's. But broken. Empty. The readings were clear. It had been opened. Years ago. Lyra stared at it, then looked down at the floor. Scratched into the metal, in blood, or something like it, were words in human script. They came too late. Kale whispered, "Someone woke up here." As they searched deeper, they found old logs, voices recorded decades ago. One was still intact. A man's voice, tired and hoarse. "This is Commander Alan Wren. Arc 7. We lost Earth. We lost everything. But I woke up. Alone. The others didn't make it. Something went wrong with the sleep cycles. I've been trying to fix the station. But something else is here. Something not human. It knows I'm awake. I think it was watching the whole time. I think I wasn't the only one they were waiting for." The message ended in static. Vren whispered, "This man, he might still be alive." "Or not," Myra said darkly. They moved carefully. But it didn't take long before they found signs they weren't alone. Shadows moved ahead of them. Footsteps echoed through empty halls. Strange marks on the walls claw-like. Lyra felt a chill in her spine. And then they saw it. A figure, crouched in a dark chamber. Human in shape. But wrong. Pale skin, long limbs, empty eyes. It didn't move. It just watched. Lyra stepped forward. "Who are you?" The thing tilted its head. "You are late," it said in a broken voice. He waited. He hoped. But the watchers came first. Kale raised his scanner. "It's not fully human." Vren whispered, "Genetic fusion. Someone changed him." The creature stepped back, its voice flickering. 17 flames. 1 remains. You are the last." Then it collapsed. Dead. Or maybe it had never been fully alive. On its chest, burned into the skin, was the eye symbol. The mark from Lyra's dreams. The group stood silent. Then suddenly alarms rang. The station began to shake. Lights turned red. From the windows, they saw movement. Ships. Dozens. Coming from the dark edge of the drift. Unknown make. Not Velary. Not human. Something else. Myra grabbed Lyra's arm. "Back to the ship. Now." They ran. As they docked, the station behind them exploded. The enemy was here. But even as the flames burst around them, Lyra heard one last voice, soft, gentle, and familiar. The voice from the Solace. Phase 3 unlocked. Protection protocol engaged. Outside, the old ship roared to life. Its sides opened. Lights flared. The ancient engines blazed bright white. The last ship of Earth was not done fighting. Lyra stood at the window, watching as her ship moved to intercept the enemy. She pressed her hand to the glass. "Let them come," she whispered. "We're not finished yet." And behind them, the stars watched in silence. Lyra stood at the viewing window as the ship approached the coordinates called Hollow Star. The name alone made their crew uneasy. It wasn't listed in any ancient archive or star map. The area around it was like a shadow in space, invisible to every known sensor. They had followed every lead from the vaults and passed every test in the memory gate. But this place felt different. It wasn't just old. It was waiting. Lyra, her mind still echoing with voices from the trial in the void, whispered to herself, "We're not the first. But we might be the last." Myra adjusted the trajectory, her face pale. The ship's proximity alarms started ringing faintly, not from collision danger, but from something stranger, mass distortion without a source. Cale leaned over his console. "That's not possible. There's no gravity well out there, but our instruments think there is." Dr. Vryn said nothing, simply staring into the darkness where Hollow Star was supposed to be. Slowly, like fog lifting, it began to appear not through light but through absence. A shape outlined by missing stars. A black sphere, vast and cracked, like a dying world turned inside out. On its surface were carvings, no, scars massive and ancient, spiraling in patterns that hurt to look at. "That's not a star," the lens said quietly. "It's a tomb." They entered orbit. The ship's system struggled to stay stable. Lyra felt the pull faint, like a memory buried under layers of time calling her forward. There was a dock. Not artificial. Organic. Grown. They landed. The airlock hissed open. Silence greeted them. Not dead silence, but pregnant, like the air was waiting to speak. They stepped inside. The Hollow Star was not empty. Inside, they found a city. A dead one. Structures of crystal and bone, some still humming faintly with power. Statues of unknown beings, tall, thin, with arms that bent wrong and eyes carved wide in terror. At the center, they found the hall. A chamber with a ceiling like a cathedral. In the middle was a pedestal. On it lay a sphere. Pulsing. Alive. And beside it, a message. In perfect Earth English. "You are not myths. You are the end of memory." The room darkened. And then the sphere pulsed harder. It began to glow. Lyra reached out. "Wait!" Vryn shouted. But it was too late. The moment her fingers touched it, the sphere dissolved into light and entered her. Lyra collapsed. And then she saw. She saw the first contact, the moment when ancient humans, long forgotten, had reached deep space and found others. She saw their kindness. Their intelligence. But also their fear. Their wars. She saw how the galaxy reacted not with celebration, but dread. Because humans weren't just survivors. They were change. Wherever they went, the balance shifted. Empires fell. Species evolved. Secrets were uncovered. And some force decided they were too dangerous. So they were erased. Myths. Fairy tales. Ghosts in ancient stories. Until now, the hollow star wasn't a prison. It was a warning. And Lyra had just unlocked it. She woke with tears on her face. It wasn't the aliens who destroyed Earth, she said. It was something older. Something that fears us. It used others to do its will. The crew stood silent. Myra asked, "Then what do we do?" Lyra looked at the sphere, now dull and empty. "We show them we remember. We show them what we became." Outside, the hollow star began to pulse again. This time, it was not a warning. It was a signal. Something had awakened. And it knew they were here. The hollow star pulsed for hours after Lyra touched the sphere, like a heart made of broken time. The crew remained inside the cathedral-like hall, watching its glow fade from white to red to nothing. But outside, across the galaxy, something ancient had awakened. Not a fleet. Not a creature. But a memory network seated across forgotten worlds, slumbering, waiting for the signal that now echoed through the dark. On the bridge, Myra received the first return pulse. Dozens of dots began appearing on their galactic map, planets blinking to life. Vren leaned in, whispering, "These were dead worlds yesterday." Kale ran a scan. "They're not sending signals. They're opening doors. To vaults. To records. To weapons." No one spoke. But Lyra felt it in her chest, the weight of knowledge rushing back, like the galaxy itself was starting to remember the humans it had erased. A message crackled through their comms, distorted and old. A human voice. Male. Calm. Protocol Phoenix engaged. Welcome home. They followed the pulses. Each world revealed pieces of history, of betrayal, of ancient human outposts buried under alien cities, their flags shattered but their archives intact. They saw how humanity had uplifted species, ended wars, healed dying suns. And they saw the moment it all turned, when a force older than any empire decided humans were too unpredictable, too uncontrollable. It was not one species that destroyed Earth, it was many, manipulated by something hidden behind the curtain of deep time. Something that fed on stasis and feared change. They called it the Silence. Not a race. Not a god. A force. A gravity well of forgetting. And it was coming back. The crew knew their mission had changed. They weren't explorers anymore. They were witnesses. Carriers of the truth. Lyra unlocked the final message stored in her mind. It was coordinates not to a planet, but to a region of space folded out of phase. A place the Silence could not see. Inside it was the last surviving human fleet, thousands of ships in cryosuspension. Waiting. Lyra's ship arrived and sent the signal. Lights came on in rows. Reactors warmed. And from the void, a voice spoke, status, woken by memory. Standing by. Tears filled Lyra's eyes. We're not the end. We're the beginning again. And far away, the galaxy turned its gaze. Not in fear this time but in awe. Because humanity had not been defeated. It had been hidden. And now, it had returned.